everybody, welcome to my channel. Hello Phil.
Hello, so
Here again. Right, tutorial time. This is as far as I am on the Hedgehog, and if you remember on the video I told you that from 80 stitches we did knit 2 together all the way across and then a purl row, so that we've got 40 stitches left. Okay, so that was all done in the eyelash yarn, and then we had to cut up a long piece so that that's for sewing up when we come to sewing up. But now we're going to change needles down to a 3.25 millimeter or an English size 10.
Oh, it's a bit blurred.
Okay, well it sometimes is like that. Okay, so then we start off, and we're actually starting off, we've got to do a purl row. If I can hook that first stitch, and as always I always knit the first row anyway. Now we're working 3 rows in stocking stitch, so it's a purl row. Don't worry about the fact that the eyelash yarn is getting caught up in the stitches, because they'll shake free afterwards. Whoop. This bit's going to be a bit boring because I'm just doing the purl row. Then I've got to do another 2 rows in stocking stitch. Which, if you don't mind sitting and waiting, I will do for you while you're here. And then I'll explain the rest of the snout. I don't know how long it would take me to actually, it's probably about half an hour to do the whole thing. Would we be all right to video for half an hour, Phil? Philip?
We can edit bits out.
Okay.
Or fast forward it.
So this is how you just attach the snout. That's it. It's quite simple. You just change needles and change yarns, and then follow the pattern. And that's the end of that row. Okay, so that's the first row. Now I need to do another 2 rows in stocking stitch. I don't know whether it might be easier for you to come round next to me now, Phil.
Zoom in.
Oh, not in my nose though, thank you. I don't think people need to see the end of my nose sticking in the video. So we're on the plain row. And you can see as we're knitting this row, the threads from the eyelash yarn are actually popping out. So when you finish the snout and everything's done, you actually can't really see the join, which is nice. This is where I have to be careful because my thumb means I can't see as well because it sticks out in the wrong direction. I'm going to lose that ball of yarn. It's going to roll all the way around the table if I'm not careful. Right, now what I'm going to do here, if I just pop this down on my lap, right, I've done the purl row, and you can just see that now in amongst all the threads, okay, and I've done a knit row, and to stop this bit coming loose, I'm going to get this bit, and all I'm going to do is just knot it like that, pull it tight, and then that's secured. Okay, so we just need to do the purl row, and then we're on to the shaping. I keep wanting to blow the hairs out the way. It gets easier the further down the snout you go. They can't reach that far. Oh, excuse me, my hand doesn't want to work properly today. I have already been doing some knitting. I'll tell you about that in another video, because I've started another project, but I'll tell you about that another time. Of course, the more you decrease on here, the quicker the rows go. At the moment, we're still doing 40 stitches, and this is the third row. So the next row will be a decrease row. I'm trying not to let the yarn run away. Are you watching the yarn, Phil?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the 3 rows done. So now on this 4th row, we're going to knit 2, then knit 2 together all the way across, just following the pattern. So we're on that bit. Okay. So it's knit 2. Now when I knit 2 together, I tend to knit them through the back of the loop, just because it's something I do. You can do it whichever. You can either do it that way. I just find it easier to do it this way. Together. What I should have done was put this ball of yarn in a bowl on the floor, but never mind. Let's knit 2. And if there are any mathematicians among you, you will have already worked out that we will now be down to 30 stitches instead of 40. So there's the 30 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Okay, now we have to do 5 rows in stocking stitch. Let me just unwind some of this so it's not rolling all over the table. Right, So we're starting with a purl row again. Is that slowly moving?
What's slowly moving?
The camera?
No.
No, it's while you're holding the corner.
I'm
Just to hold
holding
it.
it steady.
Oh, okay. I thought it was sliding out of the holder.
No.
I'm just checking. I do things like this, folks, but there we go. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I know you all like the tutorials, and I am planning to do more tutorials. The next tutorial is going to be sewing up the hedgehog and stuffing it, and then I will actually show you making I think I've shown you making the ears, but I will show you making the ears and sewing the eyes as well in a third tutorial, and then we'll be done. Right, so that's row 1. I was going to say you might as well sit down, Phil, because this little bit takes a bit longer.
I think we get the general idea of what you're doing.
Yeah. Do you want to pause the video now? I mean, and if you're watching at home, you can fast forward to the next bit, or I can tell you what the next bit is, because the next bit, this is row 2. So I've got another 3 rows to do on here, and then we do another decrease row. And that decrease row is knit 1, knit 2 together. And then we do some more stocking stitch rows. Okay, that's row 3. We're getting there, folks. So what are you all knitting at the moment? I know this isn't a regular video, but I might as well chat to you while I'm doing this. This is row 3. And what would you like to see tutorials on? I am going to do a tutorial on the chevrons to show you how to do them on small chevrons and also on large chevrons. We did large chevrons, if you remember, for the really want to wrap. But I'll show you about doing smaller chevrons for things like baby blankets. Okay, we're on row 4, so we're getting there, folks. I'm going as fast as I can without making a mistake, hopefully. Last thing I need to do now is drop a stitch, isn't it? Talk amongst yourselves. I'll just hum a little tune. I won't hum anything recognisable so that YouTube won't shut me down. There we go. I wonder if they shut you down for quoting poems. What do you think, Phil?
No.
Well, doesn't poetry have the same sort of rights as songs?
No, it's a bit more complex than that. Music can be identifiable. Poetry isn't exactly musical.
It can be.
Unless someone picks up on the fact that you've quoted one of their poems.
Yeah.
I don't know,
But
it's very complex.
Some poems are musical.
Depends how you say the poem.
If you think of the nursery rhymes, That's like a mix of poetry and music, isn't it?
Depends how you say it. And if it's
Three
recognisable.
blind mice. Okay, maybe not. Right, so that's 5 rows stocking stitch done. So if I hold it like that and move that out the way, you can see where we did the decreasing across that row. I don't know how clear that is, Phil. Is that
pretty clear? Yeah.
okay? So now we're going to decrease again, and this time we're on row 10, and it's knit 1, knit 2 together, and we will end up, well, the mathematicians can tell you we will end up with 20 stitches. So it's knit 1, and again I'm knitting through the back of the stitch. Can I have that out of my head, please?
Yes, dear.
Thank you. Otherwise I can't bend over to see what I'm doing, which always helps. So it's knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit, oops, I nearly knitted 3 together there. That wouldn't have done, would it? Together, knit 1, and there we are. And that's your next. And you can see the stitches how we've decreased them there. Okay. So following that, we've then got to do another 3 rows without any shaping. So we're down to 20 stitches. So this shouldn't take us long. And again, we're starting with the purl row. Come out. So this is the purl row, almost done. And like I said, it is a lot quicker once you get this far down. Purl row done. We want a knit row, and then we will need 1 more purl row, and then we start on the last set of decreasing, but it's not all in 1 row, so this is where it gets a little bit different. Okay, last of the set of stocking stitch rows. This is row 3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so now we're almost down to the bottom of the snout now. So what we're going to do now is decrease 1 stitch at each end of the next. So it's the plain row and every following alternate row until we've got 14 stitches. So we're doing decrease at the end, and what I'm going to do is decrease one in so you can see it better. So I'm going to just knit those two together, she says, and then whiz across here. But on the other side, I'm going to do it the original way, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I'll show you why. Right, so knit two together, just knit the last one, and I don't do the last one simply because that's where I'm going to be sewing up. And if you can see, there's your decrease stitch at that end, and there's your decrease stitch at that end. So they actually are like bookend stitches. They face towards each other. And then we do a row of purl and do it again. So we should now have 18 stitches. And we're going to do this until we've got 14 stitches. So it won't take very long, will it? Okay, so now we're on to decrease again. So it's knit one and knit two together. Now you can, if you prefer, do your decrease on the end of the row, which is what it says in the pattern. I just like mine to, I've just got used to doing it the way I do it, leaving a single stitch at the each end. I do the same if I've got a pattern in the row. I always have an extra stitch at the end. Oh, there we go. So you can see we're coming up now. There's one, there's one. Okay, and we want, sorry, we want to, I'm just knocking the camera out the way. We need to purl, so we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's 16 stitches. Okay, so, and we want to go down to 14 stitches. So this next decrease row will be the last one before it changes again.
We've got a cat at the door.
Oh, is Molly wanting to come back in?
Meow.
Yeah, she's outside today.
Have to wait a few minutes.
Okay, so here's the 14 stitches. Okay, we've now got 14 stitches with the decreases down the side, and then we have to do the same sort of decreasing but on every row until we're down to 6 stitches, and we end with just a simple row. So on here it'll be 1 stitch and then 2 stitches together there. Hopefully this is going to keep the ooh, move me. Yeah. I don't know whether that's actually going to work right, but we'll see.
Ow.
No, it didn't. Never mind. This will be underneath Mrs. Tiggywinkle's chin, so you shouldn't be able to see it anyway. So we're on another decreased row. And another one. So it doesn't take long to do this. If I just do that way. Okay. Two, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we're down to the 6 stitches. So we do a purl row, of those 6 stitches, and then what we're going to do then, you can see the shape of the snout now comes down that way. So what we do then, we leave a long thread on this one as well, and I always cut too much on this one. Okay, and then we take an darning needle or bobbin or dobbin or whatever they call them, and all we're going to do is thread the needle through these stitches, and there's Mrs. Tiggy's snout. Okay, and then we will, now depending, according to the pattern it should be out that way, but according to the picture it looks as though it's out that way, and I actually like it this way because I think you can judge where to put the eyes better, because you could put them above that row and I think they would look nice just above there. And then we will stitch this up. So if we turn it this way, you might want to sit next to me, Phil. What I do is take that through the bottom of those stitches now that we've just pulled together and pull it tight so that it's nice and won't come undone. And then we just sew it up. And you might think I'm doing this a bit loose, and I am, but then when I get so far down, I can just pull it all tight. So then it's nice and snug, look. Right, so I'll quickly finish doing this. This is why I have the end stitch on all my knitting, so that when I'm sewing up, I'm sewing into the end stitch rather than any stitches on the pattern. Let's pull that one a bit tight. See, it just pulls the stitches together. Let's move as much of the hair as we can, the eyelash yarn. Come on, over you go. And there we have a Mrs. Tiggywinkle snout. Now I'll do another extra stitch on the end to keep it in place. And then to finish off, all I have to do, because this is going to be inside Mrs. Tiggywinkle's nose, do a nice tight knot and snip it. And then just pop it inside out. And there's Mrs. Tiggywinkle's nose.
Oh.
And she's ready to be sewn up when it's stuffed full of yarn. Not yarn, fibre. And I will do that in another one for you, in another tutorial, probably later at the end of this week. Okay? So that's how you attach the snout. So it's not difficult. It's a bit fiddly to start with. She's very flat. Well, she's not even flat there, is she? But there you go. You can see how she's going to look. So that's it for that one. I will see you again towards the end of the week, and I will show you stuffing it and sewing up the body is lovely, because you can just woof it away, because you won't see the stitches anyway. So you just woof it and pull it tight and it's done. But I'll show you stuffing it, and then next week I'll show you doing the eyes and the nose. And thank you to Snowy Cat for that, because she showed me how to do those, because I wouldn't have had a clue. And those are super easy once you've got it into your head how you're doing it. Okay, so I will see you all soon. Take care now. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Bye. Bye, Phil.
Bye. Bye, Miss Tiggywinkle.